All right, today we are digging into a really fascinating historical puzzle, the story of John C. Bennett. Now, this guy was a trusted insider, a leader at the absolute top of the early Mormon church. And then, almost overnight, he becomes its most notorious betrayer.
And that brings us right to the heart of the matter. What do you do when the only person who can tell you what happened, the key witness, is someone you know you can't trust? I mean, what if they have every reason to lie? That's the challenge we face with John C. Bennett.
Okay, so let's dive into his story, because to really understand the betrayal, you first have to see just how high this guy climbed and how unbelievably fast it all happened.
Just look at the speed here. It's wild. In 1840, he's a brand new convert who just showed up in town. A year later, just 1 year, he's the mayor, a general, and even an assistant president of the church. He was right there in Joseph Smith's inner circle. The guy's charisma was off the charts. But then, just as fast, it all comes crashing down. By mid-1842, he's out, publicly excommunicated, and the scandal is about to get very, very ugly.
And believe me, this was not a quiet, amicable split. The break was absolute. Joseph Smith himself called him out in the strongest possible terms. When you hear a quote like that, you know just how deep and personal this betrayal really was.
So what was this all about? Well, to get to the core of the scandal, we have to pull apart two very different and very secret things that were happening in Nauvoo at the exact same time.
On one hand, you had Joseph Smith privately introducing what he called plural marriage. He taught it was a divine commandment for sealing families together for eternity, and it had very strict rules and required priesthood authority. But then you have Bennett's spiritual wifery. It was a total counterfeit. He basically invented this corrupt version to justify seducing women, all while claiming it was part of this new secret doctrine.
Now, after being thrown out, Bennett didn't just quietly disappear. Oh no, he came out swinging. He was out for revenge, and he launched one of the most effective smear campaigns of the time, all built around one single explosive book. And this was his weapon of choice. An explosive tell-all book published the very same year he was excommunicated. It was designed to blow the lid off the church's secrets, and boy, did it work. It became a huge hit with anyone who was already suspicious of what was going on in Nauvoo.
And the accusations in his book were shocking. I mean, it wasn't just about secret polygamy. He claimed there was financial corruption, political conspiracies, even murder plots. For people on the outside, this was the ultimate confirmation of all their worst fears.
So here's the crucial question. When you have a guy making claims this huge, how you sort out fact from fiction? Do we believe him? Let's kind of put his testimony on trial. And we have to remember, this wasn't just some abstract debate. Real people were hurt here. Women like Nancy Rigdon, who rejected Bennett, and Margaret Nyman, who later testified that he'd seduced her using his phony religious system. Their stories are so important for understanding the real-world damage he caused.
And this, right here, perfectly sums up the problem for historians. On one side, you kind of have to listen to him. He was an insider, he was in the room, and you know what? Some of what he said about polygamy was later confirmed. But on the other side, the reasons to be careful are massive. He had a huge motive for revenge, his book was pure sensationalism designed to sell copies, and maybe the biggest red flag, the guy was a known con artist long before and long after he ever met Joseph Smith.
For the leaders of the Latter-day Saint Church, the verdict was simple. He was a traitor, a wolf in sheep's clothing. They believed he abused their trust to prey on people, and then lied to the whole world to get his revenge.
But for so many people outside the church, he was seen as the exact opposite. He was a brave whistleblower, the first one to really pull back the curtain and show everyone what was going on. For them, his testimony was seen as undeniable proof that the whole Mormon project was corrupt from the start.
So after you weigh all of that, the conflicting stories, the insider access, the obvious reasons to lie, where does that leave us? What's the modern take on John C. Bennett?
Well, the consensus today is that he's both. He's what historians call a deeply compromised source. You can't just take his word for anything. But because of where he was and what he saw, he's also an illuminating one. You can't just throw out his testimony either.
I think this sentence really nails the final verdict. He revealed fragments of the truth, but he wrapped them in so much distortion and so many lies that separating fact from fiction is just incredibly hard. He's a treacherous guide to the past, for sure, but he's one who sometimes, maybe even accidentally, points you toward the truth. And that is why he matters. Understanding him is key to understanding all the controversy and confusion from that critical time.
And that really leaves us with a final question that goes way beyond this one story. When history is written by people with agendas, by heroes and villains, betrayers and believers, how much truth can you really find inside a well-told lie?